All right, y'all. It is time to shine. It is time to shine. We are back yet again for another very special edition of the RTJ Show vidcast and podcast series. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jules here. We are literally stepping into our final episodes for the summer months. And so shout out again to all of our VIP guests that we have had thus far for season 4, you all. We are right now locked and loaded with our last and final hoorah for our season 4 episodes. And so shout out to all of the VIP smart jewels that have been a part of our broadcast and also a part of our podcast show and vidcast series. But if this is your first time listening in, especially if you're on the Wisdom app with us, shout out to all of our smart jewels and Wisdom listeners. You can literally get behind the scenes jewels and also behind the scenes training from being a part of our smart jewels community. And so all you have to do is go and download the Wisdom app. And then we are going to be streaming live from Clubhouse also too, going into the end of this season 4. And so we're on all podcast music streaming platforms. All you have to do is go and search for the Run the Jewelz podcast, and you'll see my face and also see our graphic art to show that you are in the right place. But if this is your first time joining us, shout out to all of our Wisdom listeners and even our Smart Jewel listeners who are watching us or listening to us on the podcast. But the RTJ Lifestyle Show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so if you are a millennial, if you are a Gen Zer, we appreciate you rocking with us. But even if you're a baby boomer, we still got love for all the baby boomers. Shout out to all those who are baby boomers too. But we are here to teach and also here to show others how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so if at any time you have any questions with our Wisdom listeners, feel free to come up onto the main stage. We will be sure to answer any questions you have for today's episode. And so as always, if you're interested in being one of our future guests on one of our podcast episodes, if you think you have what it takes, if you are a dynamic king or a dynamic queen with a powerful message, or if you're an entrepreneur, we'd love to hear from you. All you have to do is fill out the interest form, which we're putting in the chat, in order to see if our team literally verifies you and validates you to come on our show and share your jewels of wisdom. And so shout out to all of those who are rocking with us for season 4. And so those are all of my housekeeping for today. We're going to go ahead and dive straight into our VIP sponsor for today's episode. And then I'm going to let you know what our title subject is for the topic of discussion today. Each and every episode, we do have a VIP sponsor that we highlight that has partnered with us, or an affiliate partner that has partnered with us for season 4 episodes. And so shout out to all of those that have already been a part of our sponsorships or even partnerships for our season 4. But let's take a look and see who our VIP sponsor is for today, you all. And so shout out to our VIP sponsor. Let's take a look. And so big up to our VIP sponsor for today's episode comes from none other than Delta Community Credit Union. Our VIP sponsor for today's episode is Delta Community Credit Union. You can visit their website to sign up for one of their accounts. We totally believe in credit unions, especially if you're an entrepreneur or an investor or a business owner over a lot of the big banks. And so for those, especially who are here in Georgia or in Atlanta, we partner with Delta Community Credit Union. And so we do believe that they are literally giving an advantage to business owners and entrepreneurs, to their grants, of course, to their loans and access to training and community development. And so, definitely consider partnering with Delta Community Credit Union to receive a special reward when you sign up today. And so shout out again to Delta Community Credit Union, who is our VIP sponsor for today. If you're interested in partnering with us for the rest of season 4, just be sure to literally click the link that we're putting in the comment section so you can partner with us and see how we can help your business, your service, or your product get eyes and also get ears with our Smart Jewel audience members that watch the podcast and also listen to the podcast episode every week. And so shout out again to our VIP sponsor, Delta Community Credit Union. We're going to definitely be walking through a lot of the highlights that I was able to experience recently. I was able to have the privilege to attend and also to be a guest presenter and a guest speaker at the Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia. And so today I'm going to be summing up some of the smart jewels that I learned from the Black Pod Festival. If you do not know about the Black Pod Festival, you definitely need to research and tap in with the Black Pod Festival. They are a dynamic group of Black creators and Black collective based out of Atlanta, but they have literally all different subgroups in Houston and Cali and DC, and especially throughout the Southeast. But it is, again, a collective community of influencers and also Black creatives that literally have their home base here in Atlanta. And they put on a phenomenal event for Memorial Day weekend here in the ATL. And I was privileged to come across them through Instagram. Shout out to IG that allowed me to see what the Black Pod Collective does, not just for the Black community, but all across the board, from offering workshops to offering dynamic programs, grant funding, awards, banquets for new podcasters, veteran podcasters, or even if you're in the middle or somewhere in between. The Black Pod Festival is someone who you definitely need to research after today, especially we are even joining the Black Pod Collective ourselves and being able to partner with them for all that they're doing for creatives and influencers. But I just am going to give some brief highlights literally from what I learned as coming in as a first-time attendee for the Black Pod Festival. I actually was able to speak on the subject matter of how to repurpose your content for creative marketing, whether you are a podcaster, whether you are someone who is an influencer online. There is tons of ways to be able to repurpose your content, but you have to know how and also need to know the mediums and the platforms which are the best ones to really dive in with your content and to also market it out to your target audience. And so one of the first things that I learned in coming into the Black Pod Festival, again, shout out to the founder, Ona, and her team that did a dynamic job of bringing people from Michigan, from California, from New York. I met people from Pennsylvania, from Florida, Texas, North Carolina. I think I even met some people from New Orleans. And so they literally have a good outreach to make sure that they were marketing to tons of podcasters and tons of influencers. And they even had competition, you all, because one of the biggest podcast conferences, Podfest Expo, was actually going on the same weekend during Memorial Day weekend. And literally they were housed in Orlando. But still, a ton of people came out to Atlanta solely for the Black Pod Festival. So that lets me know that they did do a great job marketing. And so one of the first things I saw when I came in was that they were prepared. This was, I believe, their first time doing their conference in the last 3 years in person. I know due to COVID, they did virtual conferences the last 2 years, I believe. But for this being a first-time conference, I've spoken at multiple conferences here in Georgia, or even in different states throughout the Southeast. And I've seen the best and the worst. I've seen the ups and the downs, and I've also seen those who actually put their best foot forward to make a great presentation for newcomers or newbies or new conference goers, and also those that had a straight terrible, dysfunctional, and just discombobulated setup for their conference that they were hosting for people coming from out of town, especially, let alone those who are local coming in. And by the way, they did an awesome job with their hospitality. They had greeters that were greeting you from outside of the building before you went in. It was hosted right in the historic Sweet Auburn area here in Atlanta, Georgia, Auburn Avenue, which is where there were a plethora of Black-owned businesses from the 1920s, I believe, all the way until the 1960s. And they still have Black-owned businesses down there. The MLK Museum and also his house that he grew up in is down in the historic Auburn Avenue area. And so shout out again to the Edgewood and also Sweet Auburn district here in Atlanta. But they literally held it in a location that is historical. That's one of the main things that when you go to conferences, for those of us who have gone to conferences, you may hate not being able to find the venue. I know I put on GPS a ton of times and been able to literally drive around in circles and not really know where I am going because the directions from the, let's say, event organizer, we'll just call them, did not make it clear and also make it plain where parking is, where the actual venue is at the corner of. And so we all don't like always trusting our GPS because the GPS sometimes may not pick you up on the side of the street, or even when you are downtown and in midtown areas, wherever you may live. In Atlanta, we have a midtown and a downtown area. And so sometimes the GPS is off. It's not always going to be on point. And so you have to be able to know landmarks. And so they did an awesome job in even getting you to the venue. They also were able to partner with one of the parking garages that leads to the building, which is right next door to the Loudermilk Center. And it was only $5 a day, you all. And so $5 a day, you can't beat that. All of us come from different walks and also from different career paths and different careers. And there were people that were baby boomers there. There were people that I met who were millennials, of course, my age group. And then there were Gen Zers. And then I even may have seen some of the alpha generation, which are those who are under the age of, I believe it's 13 or 14 right now. And so, under 16. Those who are under 16 or 17 are considered the alpha generation. And there were quite a few younger alpha members that were there from that younger generation. And so literally they checked you in smooth. They had attendees to give you a lanyard. If I had the lanyard in my hand, I may grab it at one of our commercial breaks. But literally they gave you a nice bright lanyard that said you are a creator or an influencer on the lanyard. And that allows everyone to feel that they are a creator or an influencer, no matter what level, of creating that they are at, no matter what position that they are at in their business or even in their company that they may own or operate, or even if they're just getting their company off the ground. They were able to make a valuable, invaluable impression on those who were just coming in the door by getting greeted correctly, by housekeeping, being able to have people that were ready to check you in. They even took COVID protocols, wanted to make sure that people had a negative COVID test in order to keep everybody safe. And they allowed you to have the option of wearing mask or not being masked up. But you did have to show proof of being able to receive a 48 to 72 hour COVID test that was negative, of course, in order to enter into the facility. And so that was an awesome piece to start the day. And so even when I walked in, they told me that there was a separate area for the speakers to check in at, which I was one of the many speakers that they had on Saturday and Sunday, that Memorial Day weekend. And literally, they had a separate lane or a separate table that I could go to, which they gave me my bag. They told me what time the event is actually officially going to start. And they showed me to the speakers lounge. I don't know how many times I've been to conferences, you all, the biggest conferences, not just the small conferences that you may do local, and they do not have a speakers lounge. This is higher level planning, and also this is higher level impressions that any person who is putting together a conference, or any organization or any company that is putting together a conference, if you want to keep it very intimate for your speakers, or even for any of the media that are coming to support you, have a speakers and media lounge so that they are able to network, that they are able to get water, to get juice, to get snacks, to get fruit, even potentially to charge their electronic devices that they need to store for being able to be ready and prepared for their presentation. And so this is a key jewel, you all. This is a smart jewel that if you are an event planner, or if you are putting on a future conference, make sure that you do have a speakers or media lounge, or even combine the two. Make sure that you are literally allowing your speakers and your media that are attending your event to feel like royalty, to give them a separate check-in process, to give them the opportunity to be able to greet other speakers and other media members, to network and to net weave, as one of my mentors, Keith Hill, says. And so this is something to keep in mind. And so moving forward, just some other quick jewels before we take a quick commercial break. Being able to literally check in early. Even if the event doesn't start officially till about 9 a.m., which is when I think they had their opening keynote address, you are still able to get there around 7, I believe, around 7:30. I don't know how many times I've been to events, let alone businesses, where you are not able to check in until the actual first part of the event begins, because the people who are the organizers are not ready for the attendees. They're not ready for the guest. And so this was something that did not leave a bad taste in my mouth, because they were ready. They were prepared. And so this is a key jewel to know for all of us, is that when you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. When you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You already know that people are going to welcome you with open arms. You're not going to be turned away. People are going to be ready to check you in and register you for the event, or for the location that you are going to. This sets the precedence of the rest of the conference and the rest of the event or the affair. And so always allow your attendees to check in early. That is something that they will remember, especially if they're referring your conference or your event to other friends and families, because people are coming from out of town. People were literally coming up there with some of their luggage because they were only staying for one day. And so they may have been catching a MARTA, or catching a Uber, or catching a Lyft to the airport right after the conference. And so you don't know where your attendees are coming from, but make sure you allow them to check in early and to greet them and to show hospitality. That is a word that is sometimes taboo for big events where you have over 100 to 200 people. And I believe this pod festival had 250 plus people registered. And there were about, on average, on 150 to about 200 people per day. And so people were coming in and out throughout Saturday and Sunday, but it was a phenomenal event. For it being their first festival that they put on in person, they started off the keynote address playing some music from having a live DJ. That is a key jewel or a smart jewel to keep in mind. Don't leave your attendees or leave your guests just wallowing bored and also literally not being able to get a high energy, high intensity before the event even officially begins. Have a DJ, pay a DJ, call on a friend to DJ. Don't just play from your cell or your Pandora, your YouTube premium account. Invest in a DJ to bring equipment and to keep it live, to keep it lit, to keep everyone literally having great vibes and also just high expectations for what may come. And so literally, absolutely, Auntie Carol, definitely the struggle is real. You got to have the venue on point. That's for sure. And that's a huge lesson. And so, yeah, make sure you have a DJ, you all, to literally keep the event live before it even starts. They had people up there doing the cha-cha slide, the electric slide, the wobble. They literally had folks up in and out of their seats because it's an early morning event, and people want to feel good about themselves. People want to dance. They want to catch a little two-step maybe, and be able to get themselves hyped for the day to come. And so they had the keynote address that was made by the founder of the organization, Black Pod Collective. And literally, she just wanted to formally welcome everyone so we could see her face. She kept it short and she kept it sweet. Again, she kept it short and she kept it sweet. She didn't go through a whole laundry list of slides. She didn't show a ton of videos for the morning session. She literally wanted to show face and to let everybody know what the Black Pod Collective is about, and also wanted to welcome everyone so they enjoy their day ahead. And so that is something to keep in mind, is that you always want to not waste a lot of time in the morning, because you may get jammed up in the middle of the event. Lunch may be running late. Speakers that are your keynote, lunch speakers or afternoon speakers may be having delays or be in traffic. And so you always have to keep the show rolling. That's one of the main things I learned in being in training and development and working in HR. When I used to work for the nonprofit Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Atlanta, we put on many all staff trainings where we had over, I believe it was 450 staff, adult staff that is, that we had to literally train each and every summer and each and every fall before the school year started. Since Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Atlanta is an after school youth development organization that is well known worldwide, along with the YMCA, literally that was a task in itself, having to keep people literally moving through the day, because folks are going to socialize. Like all of us, myself included, like to be able to socialize with some of our peers, some of our counterparts, even people who you may never have seen before, and you may have a level of attraction to them. Let's be real. Some people come to conferences and come to certain festivals in order to bag some new numbers, or to bag a new date, or to bag a new boo or new bae, especially for the summertime. And so it may be some real networking going on, but there may also be some relationship building that may be happening too. Because especially here in major cities like Atlanta, people come dressed to literally showcase themselves and to stunt and to be able to literally find or catch a potential mate. And so literally that allows you as the host to be able to control the flow of the day when you keep it short, because you already know some people are still going to be talking over the beginning keynote address at the beginning of the day. And so don't keep people literally locked in their seats in the morning time. Let them go to their first sessions and then maybe have a lengthier communication for the midday lunchtime session, or especially at the end of the first day to wrap up and to recap everything. And so I went to my first session. Let me look at who my first speaker was that I actually had the privilege of seeing. There was tons of dynamic kings and queens that were from all different levels of being service providers for podcasts, that were literally podcasters. They were content creators. And so I had the privilege to meet tons of people, you all. And I'm just looking at the brochure right now so I can tell you specifically who the speakers were that I wanted to highlight that did a phenomenal job. And so the first speaker that I was able to see, she goes by the name of Tiffany Ellis. And she has a podcast that is called Heal-ish Podcast. And she talked about building a community around your podcast. Also, I forgot to mention too, before I tell you what jewels I was able to capture from Tiffany's session. Literally, they named all of the rooms that the speakers were going to be speaking in after historic landmarks here in Atlanta. And so by historic landmarks, I mean specific communities and Black communities, in order to accentuate and also to highlight the theme of Black Pod Collective that was in Atlanta for their Black Pod Festival this past Memorial Day. Literally, they highlighted the rooms as College Park, the West End, the Real ATL, East Point, and Decatur where it's greater, as we used to call it when I was growing up. And so they kept the rooms toward their theme of it being in Atlanta, it being in the historic Sweet Auburn district, the Auburn Avenue district, again, which is a very historic landmark here in Atlanta for those who have been here. And they allowed it to be visible by having banners, pop-up banners in front of each of the rooms that literally showed you who was speaking at which time frame, from 9 a.m. all the way up until, from 10 a.m. all the way up until the end of the day. And so you weren't able to be confused, because all you had to do as an attendee or a guest is look at the banner. They also were able to have an app that is called Hova, WHOOVA. This was an awesome app that I was able to really just learn about from being an attendee at the conference, because it allows you to be able to upload so many different features in advance before the conference or the festival or your event even starts, to keep a community of attendees active and activated. It allows you to communicate with the speakers that are going to be speaking at the conference in advance, you all, so that the speakers can ask any type of questions or polls of their audience that signed up for their sessions. Along with people were able to literally even highlight certain meetups that you wanted to meet up with certain people during lunch, that you wanted to meet up during certain people with your afternoon sessions, people that you wanted to catch a ride from the hotel catch a Uber or a Lyft with your Uber or Lyft from the hotels, in order to save money and to also go half on a ride. And so you were able to communicate, along with the organizers being able to communicate with us as the attendees. And so I highly suggest, if you are an event organizer, if you do a lot of event planning, if you have not heard of the app Hova, to look into the app WHOOVA. Hova is, I think, the name that they pronounce it as. But it was a very interactive and simple app to use, no matter what your age is. And it even allowed you to post pictures, you all, to post videos of the event, so that people can upload their experience in going to the sessions throughout the day. But let me get back to Tiffany's first session so I don't get too carried away. She talked about building a community around your podcast. She spoke specifically towards what is the purpose of your podcast. What is the purpose of your podcast? Why are you doing this podcast? Why did you start it? who is your target audience. She said, pay attention to who is engaging your community. I even had to underline this because if you are not looking at your analytics, especially if you are a content creator on YouTube, if you are a content creator on Facebook, if you are a content creator on Instagram, or even if you are a podcaster, there's a reason why Meta, especially, and even Google is heavily into analytics, because they have to study as we are considered avatars or consumers of their product. And so we have to be able to study our product, which is our podcast, which is our video courses, which are our channels that we have active, in order to literally see why people are listening and who are our listeners or who are our audience members that we are catering to. And so that was a huge jewel. She also spoke on, what do I want from my community? Wisdom listeners, we have to continue to keep this in mind, even for our wisdom listeners. Shout out to all of those on Wisdom that are tuning in with us today. We have to know, what do I want from my community? What do we want from our community for the RTJ show? We want to teach you all how to shine brighter in your careers or your businesses in order to go to the next level, to shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be. Ultimately, we want you to plug into many of our resources that we have, from coaching services to consulting services, most importantly to our podcast. And then even we have online courses with our Smart Jewelz Institute. So we are literally an educational learning platform that we teach others how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses, in personal development, specifically financial freedom and education, and in health and wellness. Those are our three core areas for the RTJ show, which is powered by Smart Jewelz Enterprises, our mother organization. And so she talked about, literally, you have to decide as a content creator, what do you want from your community? Not what do you need, but what do you want? What do you want them to do? How do you want to help them? How do you want to advance them? We have to keep that in mind when we are content creators, or specifically podcasters. And then last but not least, she said, your people are going to connect with your message. So you have to know which social platforms are best to post content on. This is a key jewel, you all. And literally, Tiffany Ellis, this is the lady right here, if you can see in the camera that I'm putting up. She has a podcast by the name of Heal-ish Podcast. Definitely go and search for Tiffany Ellis on the Heal-ish Podcast. But she was dropping a ton of jewels, you all, and being able to teach us about how to build community around our podcast or around our platform. Also, finally, what proof do I have on the impact of my work? What proof, what social proof do you have? What testimonials do you have from guests that have come on your show? Do you even do a post survey for guests or for clients that you are working with? Do you capture data after people come on your show, or even when they are listening to your podcast or your platform? These are critical things of showing social proof, whether it's video testimonials or whether it's written testimonials, whether it's surveys that can turn into written testimonials. You have to grab the feedback from your listeners and from your audience. I'm grabbing some water real quick, because King Jewelz is going to be teaching for the rest of this session on smart jewels that I learned from the Black Pod Festival that I went to this recent Memorial Day weekend here in Atlanta. And so we have to have social proof, you all. That's one of the key things or key jewels that I learned when I first started speaking in 2012, is that if you don't have any surveys, whether it's electronic or paper handwritten surveys to give out to your audience to show that they were actually there, then they were not actually there. I don't care how much picture or footage you have of the event to show sound bites or to show video visuals of the event. If you don't have the data, which is the true jewels and the feedback that you need to show whether you did what you were supposed to do, then you don't need to be worrying about anything regarding the event because it was not a good event. You did not have the data from your audience to make sure that you were able to see whether this was a successful presentation or whether this was an unsuccessful presentation. And so this is something to keep in mind, you all, is that you have to grab the data from your clients. You have to grab the data from your listeners. You have to grab the feedback from your audience to help propel you to the next level. And so get written or electronic surveys that you can send out if you are a podcaster, if you are a content creator, if you are someone who is a speaker or a trainer like myself, especially, or even if you are a coach. Get written or electronic data to send out post surveys once you are finished working with clients, once you are finished with your presentations, once you are literally on to the next one, as we like to say. Show the data, show the social proof so that you can prove your proof of concept and also your proof of your product or your service, which is ultimately your podcast, which is ultimately your show, or even which is ultimately your content. And so you have to show proof of concept. That is critical, you all. Make sure you are showing social proof at all times. And so those were just some quick jewels from my first session. In my session, which we definitely hit on, and we'll talk more about this as we go throughout some of our Smart Jewel teachings and tutorials, we talked about the difference between using wisdom versus Clubhouse. If you have not heard of wisdom, you definitely need to track with our wisdom audience that we're even having listened to us behind the scenes right now. Wisdom is a phenomenal app for coaches, for mentors, for consultants, and specifically for those who are influencers. It allows you to talk one-on-one to your audience, and literally you don't have to deal with all of the baggage that comes with Clubhouse. We've heard of Clubhouse where there is literally a blow up that occurred during the pandemic last year, where tons of people were still stuck at home. They were afraid to travel. And Clubhouse is also a social app. It's sort of like a teleconference line that is open to the general public for all different age groups, for all different variety of generations to talk about any subject matter that you would literally want to create a room or to create a safe space out of. And so that was something that came on board from the beginning, you all, was when literally we had to stay entertained. Clubhouse was the main attraction that drew a lot of people in, you all. It turned a lot of people into social butterflies who were literally bored at home and not able to go outdoors or to be involved in any of the activities going on because of COVID. And so Clubhouse was your open forum, your open discussion board. It was all audio content that you were able to listen to others from all different age groups, all different walks of life. And even they have celebrities on there and entertainers and athletes that were plugged into certain rooms to attract individuals to go on to Clubhouse. And so if you have not heard of Clubhouse, we highly suggest researching Clubhouse and also researching wisdom. We are literally one of the first suitors and also first forerunners of wisdom for iPhone and Apple users who literally had wisdom first before Android was able to get wisdom people basically to connect onto the app. And so people who are Apple users or iPhone users had first dibs in using wisdom. And so you got to be first to the race, you all, if you're trying to build online community, because that is truly what you should be focusing on as a content creator, is how am I building online community? Again, how are you building an online community? How are you building an online influence to your audience? This is something to keep in mind, you all, that we are nothing as content creators or podcasters without our listeners. Just like our wisdom listeners that are tuning in tonight, Shout out to our wisdom listeners again. We cannot be successful without our audience and our supporters, who are our listeners, who are our foundation, who are our supporters, who are our donors, who are our potential clients, and most importantly, who are our tribe. Who is your tribe? Who is your tribe? Who is my tribe? Who is your target audience that you're trying to reach? You can't reach everybody. Everyone always talks to myself and our staff and our team about their outreach is trying to reach everybody. I'm trying to go global. I hear that all the time with entertainers and also comedians and other individuals saying, I'm trying to have this go global. But before you go global, you have to start local. Again, before you go global, you have to start local. Who knows you and who knows what you are doing in your local community? Unless you are solely online as a platform that is a Shopify, that is a literally online store, you are going to still need to use your community as your home base, especially if you are selling products or services throughout your community and not solely to people who are online. And even when you're online, you still have to peel back the layers and literally target your ads to certain age groups or certain cities or certain states or certain countries where people want to literally purchase or want to support your services or your product. You can't reach everybody, but you can reach somebody. Local. Always start local. Always start where you are. Start in your community. This is a major key and also a major jewel. One of the other sessions that I just wanted to highlight before we get ready to shift and to close out is look into hosting platforms if you are a podcaster or a creator, like Buzzsprout. If you have not heard of Buzzsprout, definitely research them after today. They are a phenomenal platform that provides a community feel for their supporters and also for their clients. Also look into Squadcast. These were two businesses and also tech organizations that were sponsors at the Black Pod Festival in Atlanta. And so shout out to Squadcast and also Buzzsprout. But these are hosting platforms that provide resources for you as an influencer or a content creator. Look into the resources, you all. Don't try to do everything on your own. Use your community. Use your resources. This is a quick fact. It said that for one of my other sessions where we talked about what to look for in a podcast network, this was by a brother named Marquise Lupton out of Pennsylvania. He was speaking specifically about building up a network, building up podcasters or podcast shows that are already off and running or that are being basically started from the ground up. You have to basically be able to seek out Art Pub and City Hall pitches that you can pitch for different grant funding. There's tons of money that are in our local cities. There's tons of money that are in our local communities, but we have to know how to pitch after these venues or to pitch after these organizations. We even are at the point right now with our Smart Jewels network of our team that we've just launched 2 podcasts within the last year outside of the Run the Jewelz podcast show. We're on queue right now to build up our media kit so that we can go after more dollars, to go after more funding, which ultimately is going to allow us to have our outreach go international because we are tapping into the local funds, the local grants, in order to literally propel our vision and our mission forward. Our ultimate mission and our goal is to literally go to international countries and interview entrepreneurs and young professionals specifically from those countries in South America, Asia, Africa, Australia, Europe, and also Antarctica, literally to show you and our audience that there are individuals that are killing it in their industry and that are really doing their thing, doing their for real thing in these countries and also all across the globe, while literally learning about their culture, learning about their food, learning about their tourism, learning about the visa process to get over there, learning about how long can you stay on your specific visa, educating people on what career fields can you literally work in that country as an expat. We're big on teaching individuals who watch our show and listen to our podcast how to become international expats in different countries and different communities, which is why we've interviewed people from Asia, from Africa. We recently even interviewed people from South America and also Central America this season. And so we're trying to teach and also trying to show the way to go global, but we had to start local again. We had to start local before we can even consider going global. And so this is something that I just want to leave as we wind down for some of the jewels that I was able to learn from the Black Pod Festival, some of the smart jewels I was able to learn. This was a profound statement that Brother Marquise Lupton made. He said, "Who represents your brand? Who represents your brand? And also, who is in connection with your mission?" Who represents your brand, and also who is in connection with your mission. These are two critical things that any entrepreneur, any individual who is an influencer, anybody who may be a subject matter expert, if you don't know the answer to those two questions, who represents your brand specifically, and also who does your mission impact, then I don't know if you even have a business or if you have an organization. I don't even know if you have a successful product or if you have a successful service, because you don't even know who you are called to serve. You don't even realize who you may be called to literally help or assist, because you don't know who does your brand impact. Do you even know what your brand is? Do you even have your elevator pitch? If someone asks you, what is your business about? What do you do? Do you have that in your back pocket, or are you mumbling or stumbling or fumbling over the words? Can you rattle that off? Also, what is your mission statement? Do you have a mission statement? Do you have a vision statement? These are critical things that these individuals who consider themselves to be podcasters or content creators, including myself, have to be able to answer on the spot. Because if you don't, and if you cannot, then you just have a hobby. You are not literally a true influencer or a true content creator, because you haven't even mastered the basics about who, what do I do, and where am I trying to go? Who am I? What am I trying to do? And where am I trying to go? And who do I want to serve specifically? Who am I serving? Who is my target audience? And what does my brand represent or say about me, or about you, or about we? And also, what is your mission? If you don't have a call to action, if you don't have a mission, then you are not going anywhere quickly. You are literally just going to continue on the hamster's wheel, not going anywhere, you all. And so you got to keep that in mind. You have to know, what does your brand align with, and also who does your mission serve, or who is your mission going to serve? Again, if you have been blessed by the quick jewels teaching for today, feel free to sow a seed with us, you all. There's 3 ways to sow. You can literally click the link that's in the comment section, or you can Cash App a donation or a seed offering to us at Cash App $SMART SMART JEWELZ. That's SMART SMART JEWELZ, in order to really support our vision and our goal and our purpose of literally going international after we have already mastered the local and the basics. And so thank you to all of those who have already teamed up and partnered with us this season. Black Pod Festival, StreamYard, Urban Eden, Get Gains or Get Gone, the Midnight Prayer Watch, and all the names that you see on the screen at the ticker on the bottom that have sown and also that had given to us: Orgain, Organic Protein, Champ Boxers, Everybody Eats ATL, Auntie Carol, Keon. These are all real life in real organizations and businesses that have sown and that have also built into our coalition and even to our international movement for the Run the Jewelz podcast and Smart Jewelz Network. And so shout out again to all of our VIP sponsors, our VIP partners, and most importantly, our VIP sowers and donors. And so if this is you, feel free again to cash app us at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ to support us on this international goal and this international vision. And then you could also become a monthly Patreon with us by clicking the link that is in the comment section. Also, before we get ready to close, you can visit us at www.smart, JEWELZ, enterprises.org to get started on your podcast today. I just went to literally a Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta, and literally I was presenting at the Pod Festival. I was learning as a guest in a lot of the other sessions at the Pod Festival, and I was locked in. And so we are here to help other podcasters and future podcast creators to launch and also to enhance their podcast or their show. And so if this is you, feel free to sign up for a free 30-minute discovery session by going to www.smartjewelzenterprises.org again. And so I'm about to get ready just to show you all as we close out, show you what we plan on doing for the rest of this season. And so this season, again, we are on the final leg of season 4 episodes. But as you can see on the screen right here, you can reach new audiences by just, again, seeing what services we can help or assist you with for your podcast or for your show, literally by just going again to www.smartjewelzenterprises.org. And you can see our services to sign up for a free 30-minute discovery session. I'm excited to also say that we launched our merch for our 200th episode. And so we have new merch that is on the Smart Jewelz network. And we literally have teamed up with Fits for Kings and Queens, online Afrocentric and African focused and centered and cultured store that we have literally launched our Shine collection. And so you can support us by also purchasing any merch. We have new King and Queen bracelets that are coming soon for the summertime to also be packaged with some of our teas. And also we'll be having some other paraphernalia and some other items to partner with our accessories for the Smart Jewelz network. And so we have women and men sizes to create and shine, which is our motto. We create opportunities for you to shine. And so it is your time to shine this season, you all. Also, take a look at our travel jewel spotlight before we close out. So stay tuned, you all. We are We are finishing off season 4 with the bang. You just saw a little bit of our vision for the RTJ show. We've gone to El Salvador. We are going to Asia later this year, and specifically Africa in the next few months, to do what exactly I said, which is interviewing young professionals and entrepreneurs in these countries, in these continents, to bring their jewels of wisdom to you all, to show you how to shine bright and to not make excuses or be afraid to travel abroad. We're all about going to the nations, what we profess to do since season 1. And so we're just making our dreams a reality, but we cannot do it without your support again. And so if this has blessed you in any way, shape, or form, just as some final jewels for thought, consider partnering with us by going to the link that's in the comment section to become a monthly Patreon, or you can literally sow a seed by going to Cash App and going to $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, to sow a seed with us and to be one of our donors or patrons that you see at the bottom of the screen. And so those are all of my final jewels for thought, you all. Definitely shine bright like the bright diamond jewel that you were created to be, because someone that is watching you needs to feel the light and also sense the light that is within you. But you cannot be afraid to shine. If you are a true king or a queen, you have to shine, and you also have to shine bright. And do not be afraid to open your mouth and speak as a true king or queen should. Because you may be the light that someone needs to save their life, or even to help them come out of a dark pit or a dark area that they may be trapped in. And so never be afraid to shine bright like the bright diamond jewel that you were created to be. I'll see you all next week. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of your health, shine bright, and stay hydrated. Summertime is here, you all. And I'll see you next week. Until we meet again, stay hydrated, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.